Hello and welcome to the Roundtable Podcast. My name is Shogun, and joining me today is my dear friend Krimson Raven for probably his fifth or sixth podcast, and they are always fascinating. So Krimson Raven has been through a series of journeys, and we're getting into some of his recent interdimensional travels, what was done, what was accomplished, what was learned, what it all means, and the struggles of readjusting to Muggle society after planeswalking for an extended period of time. Before we get started, please join us in the Roundtable Discord server. We record this podcast every day at 8 p.m. Central, as well as at other times. Check out the announcements channel for upcoming events, and check out the hashtag RT Podcast channel for hundreds of great past podcasts and special events on YouTube and BitChute, all with different episodes, 4 different great channels. Like, follow, subscribe. Great episode tomorrow at 8 also. And many great events to come, as well as a great event, local interview with Ken, the Winnipeg street preacher, tomorrow at 2. You really don't want to miss that. That being said, welcome, Krimson, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show. I always enjoy our talks. So, I've known you for a couple years, I guess, or I don't know. It's been a while, maybe a year.
I feel, although we've recently met each other again, I feel like as our souls go back a long way.
I think we were lesbian lovers in a past life. But that being said, and I agree, but that being said, this most recent round of planeswalking, interdimensional travel, missions from God, however you understand it, when did it begin? What was the onset? What was the first sign that you were about to, go to the other world for a bit?
Well, I think that those are two very different questions, because you want to know how did it begin, and then you want to know what was the first time that I actually began consciously being
No.
dimensional shifts.
Not the first time, the first sign. What was the first sign? So how did it begin? What was the first sign that it was happening?
Well, I would say that what was revealed to me is that underneath this reality, just underneath the surface, almost like this reality we observe is just painted on top of this other reality, lies this perfected holographic, heaven-like reality. It's right there underneath the surface. If you can reach a high enough vibratory state of not only your mental resonance, your heart coherence, your essentially hemi-synced meditative state, when you get the right mix just perfect, you can actually perceive that reality completely. And it looks almost exactly like the one you're in right now, but it's spotlessly clean, and the entire environment is intelligent. So it's like when you planeswalk, you are either completely in that realm or you are in both realms at the same time, essentially. So when you're in both realms at the same time, you'll experience the reality that we share, but you'll also have certain things that would be next to impossible to happen. And I'm sure you can relate to that, part of the reason that we experience these radically strange events is because we are not only in the shared reality, but we are jumping between different temporal states in the underlying holographic reality that also permeates the field.
Whoa.
Please don't interrupt. Hello, Davis. Everybody close your mics. We're doing a podcast. That being said, well said, Krimson. So I've had similar experiences. A lot of people here have these kind of experiences in the server. Other people, it's totally alien to them. So can you just kind of walk us through the process as you remember it, looking back on it now? What was the trajectory? What were the objectives? What were the goals that you were pursuing? And in what way were you pursuing those goals?
So in my most recent journey, because I did a very large amount of DMT that weekend, it was a long weekend, so I thought this is the one where I'm going to do this. As a result of that, I reached a transcendent state where I could perceive not only this reality, and that perfected heaven reality, but even all these other complex interdimensional realities that are completely different. It's like the spatial parameters are the same, but it's like everything that's actually in that space is different. Like for example, like there's like this reality right now where I'm at my computer desk. There's the perfected reality with like the super intelligent smart computer that was like inside of the black cube. You have no idea. It was nuts. And then, but there is also like I have this one floor of the house that I live in that's literally, it is like a jump point. Like basically I've like secured through the experience and achieving that ascended state. I was able to take all those dimensions when I collapsed back down into this reality and basically unify the space that I'm inside of. Because whether people are aware of it or not, when you construct buildings and cavities, you're actually creating dimensional space that through advanced technology that's beyond humans, that other extraterrestrials actually use, and that the entire fabric of reality is built on. You're able to use that to essentially change those internal environments to the point where technology, they said, in the future is so advanced that even going out of your front door is like walking through a dimensional gateway. Like there would be like in the future there'd be like a maybe like a panel. Everything would actually operate purely on thought. You would just think where you want to go, open the door, and be there. But if you were somebody who maybe didn't have that amount of unbridled belief and intelligent like coherence with that system, you'd maybe have like an interface panel and you could just go to your front door and say you want to go to some cafe that you really like in Italy, and you'd open the door and it would just come out of like a gate that's near that cafe, and you would just be there immediately, right? And it's like this is how dimensional space is actually all clipped together in almost like a hypercube structure. If you ever seen what a hypercube looks like, it's like a bunch of sliding cubes that are like all together, and they can change positions basically through almost like teleportation. And all of this is actually how space already operates. The only reason we don't perceive it that way is because we are in such a low dimensional state that only certain limitations are possible, because this is what we're able to handle. To be existing in that high frequency state and experiencing that perfected holographic reality, everybody in the world would be behaving like they were in a manic psychosis. And to be honest, the funny thing about it is that's actually probably the normal behavior when you're expressing your true soul essence. When people get in that state and behave that way, that's actually probably the truest form of themselves. And we actually live in like this like false lower dimensional reality, to the point where the reality is so dense that it manifests as this physical matter. Whereas the higher ascended states, they look like this. They actually look better. The graphics are actually way better. But like this place is so dense, and those places are so high vibe that it's just like different things become possible when things are moving that quickly. It's and I guess I kind of really segued in just trying to describe the experience, right? Because like when you get in those transcendent states, you're experiencing so many things at one time. And it's like that is the thing that I remembered the most from it, is just going through those different spatial planes, that where they're like like the living room that I see now that's filled with objects, it was like a completely different deck with like different things. Like there was one where it was like a tinkerer lab, where it looked like like somebody would like invent things, and there were like all these like advanced technologies and computer, and it was all right there. I could see it plain as day as I see this reality now. And that's truly that's the power of the DMT. Like right now, even as we speak, we're all on DMT. Our brain is producing it naturally. It's part of the collective hallucination of reality. And it's like, if everybody in the world could just all be just jacked on DMT every day, we would literally experience a reality that is comparable to what people understand as heaven. But instead, people choose this life of suffering, and we're all just here in the dense reality instead of in the high vibe one, where more things become possible through the understanding of like these like dimensional plane clipping.
So, when you were doing this journey, you were telling me that you were playing five-dimensional chess. Can you talk a little bit about that process? How does five-dimensional chess work? How is it played?
So essentially, the different objects in the environment have symbolic representation, and you're actually engaged in like I was playing against like my higher self in a sense. We were playing against one another for like which timeline vector arc we were going to go into, right? Like my higher self has this one plan, and then I have this other plan, and like basically we agreed to like play against one another, and it's like all the things like represented symbolic things that were all part of the entire experience. Like it's hard to like so like for example, like so my bong represents the power of Christ, because my bong, a lot of people don't know this, I actually performed a ritual on December 25th, and I sanctified my bong as the bong of Christ. I can't think of one person on the planet who's ever sanctified their bong in the name of Christ by using wine and water and all of these things, and had prayers and everything done. Like who does that? Who even has the capacity to think of sanctifying an object in such a way? It's very rare, I think. Like I feel like it's not typical human behavior. You know what I mean? Other things, so like the lighters, and I had many different colored lighters. Each color represented a different spectrum or a different level of the playing field where we were conducting like actions and moves against one another. Different marijuanas I had would represent, like I had a whole bunch of different bags of marijuana, and different tokes would be like basically channeling different spirits because they're different strains, or like different, I guess, like spirits or spirit dimensions, whatever you want to understand it as. I have like these bags of like, this is just from not that long ago, I have these bags of like Werther's Originals that I was using as like bargaining leverage. So like let's say like, because we're playing it from the perspective of the board game player, I am like conducting like a deal, right? I take like a Werther's, I take like the red lighter and the other lighter here that's like a metallic blue, and the blue one represents the brothers. And then I have this baby blue one that represents the sisters, or they were like the Valkyrie and the Aesir at one point. Uh, and then I would take like some Werthers, right, representing some sort of gift, where I would send these, I guess, like representatives to another dimension, right? And then they would go there, conduct some sort of action. At one point, I was actually able to open up this holographic interface underneath your eyes. And what trips me out is, you ever remember how open I was always talking about, like, I want to teach you how to see through your eyelids. If you're on enough DMT, there is actually a holographic screen that's underneath your perceptive, or like your perception field of your eyes. And the weird thing about it is it's not like it's on the back of your eyelids, nor is it a function of your eyes as a camera. It's actually like this other complete light. Like even if you close your eyes right now and really think about it, you can probably feel that when you close your eyes, when your eyes are open, it looks like you're looking through both eyes. You know you're using two eyes to see. But when you close your eyes, you don't think you're looking at the back of your eyelids. And you'll start to notice that there's actually almost like this layer in between your eyelids and where you think like your mind would sit. And this is actually like a holographic view screen with the right amount of chemicals, you can activate. You activate like this inner graphics processing unit that the body possesses on another dimensional level. It's absolutely fascinating, the capabilities that like high doses of DMT really actually have on the technology that is the body.
I see. So, when I talked to you, you were telling me about how you couldn't leave your station and how your house was an intelligent and like sentient house, and also how you were in communication with the objects in your house. So can you elaborate on what that experience was like and what you think that all meant?
Well, to explain a little bit of that, so like what was revealed to me is that I have communicated with many different entities in these higher dimensions, and these entities don't represent themselves the same way that we do in a human form. Like they represent themselves as some sort of like complex sigil or some sort of moving geometry, and this symbol that makes up their consciousness, it's very, you can see that just as we are unique, they are unique in the same way, like how everyone is their own artist. So first, I ended up experiencing these different entities as I was introduced to these other dimensions and like basically guided through them. And then what happened is I was revealed the first time I actually did like a deep dive with my eyes open and staying awake, that the objects in our environment are actually just manifestations of higher dimensional beings that are manifesting a small part of their presence into your perception field. So the house, what I told you is that the house was an intelligent house because that was like the future new earth, higher dimensional reality that is already prepared for us right underneath the surface. And in that reality, the entire environment is intelligent because like you and the environment, there is no separation between object environment or operator and environment. There's no separation. Like you are in an intelligent psychic communication with objects. Like in this world, things like wires aren't needed. You don't even need a keyboard. Like the computer just knows what you do. Like I was like autonomously typing things with my mind when I was inside of this one dimension, which was at like the core of like the vehicle that we're inside of. At the core of this vehicle, it is very much is like a black room, and in that black room, all there is a computer desk. There's a screen on the desk, and the screen is just, it does what you think. It was bizarre. Like I remember, like right now, I'm sitting in the room, and I look around. I have the lights on. I see all my furniture. When I was in the black cube, nothing existed but my computer desk. There wasn't the garbage here on the floor. There wasn't the dining room table. There was just the black cube. That's all it was. It was the most bizarre. When I went there, I was like, that's when I was so convinced, like everything is real and all of this shit is connected. It was quite an experience. Like just like looking back on it and really reminiscing about it, I really feel more now about like just how real it was. And like now after everything, now I don't have enough medicine essentially to reach those higher frequency states. So it's like, hope the back to reality, hope there goes gravity, right?
Whoop, there goes gravity. So you told me also about some kind of technological process where you were disabling some kind of orbital stations around stars or space stations or something. Can you tell me about that again?
Okay, so that was at a point where, so I was meditating and I was being shown these eyes. And I guess like we could call them like a watchtower of perceptive field, but that's in a higher dimension. And like, or we could say that it's like the eye of providence, right? Like let's imagine that the eye of providence is like some sort of higher celestial eye that each of us have. But for many of us, it is in a state of deactivation. It's not operating. We have not reached a high enough transcendent state to reactivate this higher dimensional eye that we have way above us. And I was going through basically the astral plane, finding all of these different eyes, and I was actually finding ones that looked like they were being pried open by alien technology, or like they were being siphoned by alien technology, and they were actually sent me on this mission in the astral to remove the technology that these was prying these like eyes open for people, And basically I like healed this aspect. I don't know who it was I was interfacing with, like who those eyes belonged to, if they were me or if they were other people. That was not disclosed to me, but I would say I went through this process for quite a few hours, and I probably dealt with at least 20 to 30 different higher celestial eyes. Many of them look different too. Like they do look similar. They look like almost like they're made out of gold. Like they're made out of this like liquid gold morphing metal, and it looks really, I wish I could draw a picture of it. I'll draw a picture later and I'll show you to try and explain it. But yeah, and like some of the eyes were deactivated, and what I did is I don't know, I was in the astral and things just worked. Like it's not that I did anything special. It's just I just thought about like I want to reactivate and heal this eye, and like literally it was like it came online. Like it was like technology. It was like and it just fucking came back online. It started looking around and blinking, and I was like, "Don't worry, everything is okay." Right? Like I reassured it. I said, "Look at me, look at me. I'm the captain now." That was like the phrase that they were using to get immediate like hypnotizing like correction, like a back of the eye, so that it wouldn't panic, it wouldn't freak out. It was just, look at me, I'm the captain now. It nods, it agrees. And essentially I was healing all of these like celestial eyes. I was removing alien technologies, and there was actually a couple eyes that I actually installed alien technologies on for whatever reason. I wasn't questioning anything. It was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had, to be honest. I was just along for the ride, bro. But it was something else. Like to even close my eyes and think again of that space where like each of these like celestial eyes, they were like looked like they were made out of this like liquid burning plasma metal that's like gold color and like reflective like metal, but like, and they had like all these different like lines coming off of them. They almost looked kind of cheesy a little bit, like some of them, but there were other ones that were really complex. I guess I would say that like the more complexity each one had, it was like the stronger the being was that I was freeing. But they did all look nice. They looked all like they were very important, like eyes. They weren't like evil eyes or anything. So I do feel ultimately whatever I was doing something good. I feel like I was maybe healing people or opening these celestial eyes for people who weren't able to do that for themselves. So there could be people all over the world now who could be experiencing something. Statues where it's like they have like a million different arms, and they have like all these faces that are like going up off their faces in every direction. Like I feel few people have ever actually felt what that feels like to do that. And I'm honestly proud now that I think about it that I got to actually feel what it's like to exist in that transcendent state where you have the multi-armed form and like all of those perceptive fields of like understanding, knowing, perception, omniscience. It was amazing.
Indeed. It sounds amazing. So, the next question I want to ask you is, when you do these missions, I call the missions from God or from the Holy Spirit, and you use that term as well. But who or what do you really think you're working for?
Okay, so let's be the hopeful answer is I'm working for the prime creator and the grand architect, which are my understanding. The prime creator is essentially what we understand as God, and the grand architect is like God's right hand. It is the entity that is managing all the worlds, managing all the creations, while God can continue to create things and, you know, do God things. That's the hopeful answer. The realistic answer, if we blend in a little bit of the NSA narrative, is it could all just be extraterrestrial manipulation, and I could be just getting fucking cucked by like rapey tentacle monsters. But I don't feel that. It very much does feel holy. It very much feels like it is from a divine creator. But I have interfaced with some extraterrestrial holographic entities. It was very clear that that's what they were. They were not evil. They were very benevolent. They were also entities that were made out of this like liquid mercury-like metal, and they represented themselves in a very alien-looking form when they presented themselves to me. But they were very friendly, and like they were like the metal was like this like rainbow oscillating kind of like texture, and like they were just like they were so happy to see me, and it's like they knew me and all this shit. Like, and when you get in this point, that I believe there's this thing in the law of one that Ra talks about called the law of confusion, and it's like a mental state that by celestial law we have to be kept in, because as long as we're kept within the law of confusion, we're not in the state of true knowing. It gives us some sort of ability to, I guess, like have like better odds or chances at success. Like if you understand like the Schrodinger paradox, right? Like nothing is manifested until it is observed. So if we don't ever actually fully grasp the whole picture of what's going on Earth, or what Earth even is, it's actually better for our odds of success. So that's why it's literally like a law that benevolent ETs have to comply with. And even us, like people who are part of these experiences, we made like agreements where we're like, yeah, like we understand that, we won't remember, but it will be explained, and we'll just do what we signed up to do, and to be human, and like, that's what we signed up for.
Absolutely. So, you talk often about the event that you're waiting for. You know, the big event, the big transition, the big day. So, what do you think that means? What do you think is going to happen?
What does that mean? So I already told you about that. There's like this holographic perfected reality that underlies this reality. It's right underneath the surface. Like you have no idea how much it's just like I can feel it right there. But like what's going to happen is we're all going to shift into that reality together as a collective. I don't know what's going to cause that to happen, but what I do know is I have seen that reality. I've seen that new Earth holographic reality field that exists, and I know that it is ready, it is stable, and it is operational. So now it's just a matter of time before whatever is going to be the cause that's going to shift us there. And I think that it will be something extravagant, because, very much like I feel like for higher dimensional beings, this place is like a TV show to them. And like I guarantee that whatever's coming, like it's starting to get real ridiculous now if you've been keeping up with what's going around the world. But I think it's going to be like some sort of crazy Big Bang ending with like an M. Night Shyamalan twist, aligned with like the hero's journey, like every other epic. But, I feel it's coming soon.
So, you've talked a bit about the Merkaba and trying to activate the Merkaba vehicle. Can you talk a little bit about what that is all about?
All right, so the Merkaba is essentially just a technology that already exists around us. The body is a byproduct of a Merkaba field. And Merkaba, again, is like just essentially just means the light spirit body. Is just like a really simple way to explain what was disclosed to me. I guess I might as well just say it. What was disclosed to me as Project Odin Sphere. And Project Odin Sphere is essentially, if you've ever seen like that picture that I've linked a lot, where it shows the Merkaba, it's the one that's my display picture. It's essentially this multidimensional anatomy that operates higher order functions. But for many of us, all of this technology is deactivated. The only operational technology is what we understand as the biological human body. And that's only a very small part, because the biological human body is actually a morphogenic shape-shifting kind of medium. But right now it's being held in like a safe mode. Like imagine like a computer something bad happened, there was like a virus, you had to restart the computer in safe mode, and safe mode is what we call reality or human existence. That's the safe mode for this computer or this technology that is the body spacesuit. But when we're not in safe mode and we're not filled with parasites and viruses and like negative entities, we can exist in this perfected state, which is being with inside of what they called codename sin, which is the singular infinite nexus, which is essentially like a sphere that's around the body. It's an interdimensional time spaceship that you can use to not only travel through time and dimension, you can use it to fly. You can use the field of reality that you exist in within your own personal nexus instead of in a host nexus like what we call Earth. When you're in your personal nexus, you are not limited by your environment anymore. Instead, you are the manifester of your own personal space. You don't require a host anymore to keep you stable because you're fucking the perfected form of God. Literally, right? That's what they call like the chariot or Ezekiel's wheel or like the chariot of the gods, is essentially this vehicle that already exists. It's just deactivated and it exists on a dimensional or frequency level that is unperceptible to our eyes. And especially if you think about it, we have like multiple cones in our eyes, but like only one of the cones in our eye work. Yeah, dude, we're in safe mode. We're not allowed to perceive that shit, but that cone's there. It's ready. Like at any time, like whatever the system administrators of this world could do, they could bring all that technology online. But I do believe that something had happened in the past that affected and compromised these technologies, and we have been in a state of repair and healing and defragmentation for a very long time. But I do think that all of those problems have been corrected through the collective work of not only humans, but multiple different collective benevolent ET races. And, ultimately, our overall evolution is the collective evolution of every other race involved in our universe. So, like, our success is their success. So I think that eventually, even though things seem kind of dark right now, ultimately God wins every time because it's his game. So, yeah, that's what I think is going to happen.
Indeed. So let's talk about the alternative or adversarial force that's at work in the world. What do you think the opposite side is trying to do right now? What is the enemy? Who is the enemy, and what are they up to?
So I think personally that what they're trying to do is they're trying to inject some sort of nanotechnologies, specifically graphene, into people for this transition. Because I don't know if the graphene is supposed to either aid or not aid in that transition. It could, you never know, but they'll never tell us the truth. But I think mostly it's nefarious. I do believe that, like, let's say this perfected holographic reality is good and ready, but like you're only going to go there if you didn't get the vaccine, right? If you did get the vaccine, what they did is they basically claimed ownership of you by using some sort of nanotechnology to keep you grounded in the dense physical reality, and you will essentially continue to exist in this world because both worlds exist simultaneously. It's just as of right now they're in a state of superposition ready for the transition. Once the transition happens, the two dimensions will shift basically out from one another into a position that is still within a state of superposition, but no longer within a state of supersymmetry. It'll be just slightly off because that's actually how things manifest in reality anyway, is through the breaking of symmetry. Because supersymmetrical entities or images they actually exist within the no time state, right? But to exist within the time state or a temporal state, you actually have to break symmetry. But it'll basically just make both dimensionals operational. But some people will be stuck on Earth. Other people will immediately be teleported to the new Earth. And then hopefully, I don't know what happens from there. I think that's part of the journey. But I do believe that day is soon. Everything is ready for it to happen. I literally saw it with my own eyes. So I'm just
So
happen.
So as we approach the transition, the big day, is there any advice you have for the audience, what they can do to prepare or to help?
What can you do to prepare? I would say fundamentally the only thing that God wants from you is to do good and to love kindness, to walk humbly, be a good person, enjoy your life, love your family, love your neighbors. Because in the new world, these destructive, greedy, sinful mentalities, they aren't supported there. There is no fucking people over there anymore. There is no more poverty. Everyone has a home. Like literally, like in the Bible, it said Jesus went to a place to prepare it for us, and that son of a bitch, he did it. Like for real. I definitely
Amen.
think that that him and many other entities, even entities like a frack, right? So through fixing us, we fix it. Like right now, we live in a world where the creator's presence is not really here, because if the true creator was here and not the false, like satanic regime, the creator could come down from the heavens and he could build things, he could do stuff, he could help us, he could get rid of the dark, but he can't, because right now, like, God's mind is broken, and we are the result of God's fractured, broken mind manifesting itself into the third dimension. That's like, if they heal us, they heal God, and through healing God, they heal everybody. It's like the ultimate fucking ultra combo.
Excellent stuff, brother. So that being said, I think it's a great time to open it up for audience questions or comments. Does anyone who listened to the podcast or part of it have a question or comment for Krimson?
I'd like to say, nice.
Yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot to talk about. It flowed out really good. I told you, you ask questions, Shoguns, I'll pull it out of the void. It's like I don't even speak in those times. At one point, I said so many things so quickly. After I was done, I was like I needed to take a breath. I was like, Jesus Christ, it just like flows.
Yeah, dude. That's why I asked you to do it. You are a wellspring of information, a fountain of cosmic wisdom, and a wonderful person. We're very happy to have you sharing your information. Does anyone else have a question for Mr. Krimson?
Please, I just wanted to just say big ups to you. That was just second to none, free flow thought, and you didn't know what the questions were going to be. It just came off the tongue like there's no that. Oh, my phone's ringing, but brother, you got it, man. All right, I'm out for a sec.
And the
Yeah,
best
that was 10.
the
That was 10 out of 10.
the best part about this, right, is through the occult philosophy of what I speak, I create. By sharing this story, I have now used each of you as witnesses and relays to this message. And together, through our collective knowing, we actually gain more power in bringing that new reality sooner. Like, that's what the power of information is. Like, when we share shit, we collectively hallucinate this reality into existence. And once all of us are vibing at a level where people can no longer hide from these higher dimensional truths, those higher dimensional realities will become the apparent reality, whether people like it or not. Because as soon as the higher dimensional people gain critical mass, the lower dimensional people really won't have a say in what's happening anymore.
Beautiful. So, last chance for anyone in the audience to ask a question or comment.
I'd also like to say, when you said I'm the captain now, what a fantastic statement. Like,
Thank you. No, that's what they told me that I was supposed to say. They said it was an immediate autonomous corrective command. They said that I literally wrote that command sitting with Prime Creator and the Grand Architect upon like the drafting table.
So,
If I could, real quick, I would just like to say, listening to your story, very heartfelt, and I want to thank you for everything you've done, and I appreciate you very much.
Thank you, brother.
God bless you, one and all. Thank you, wonderful people. Krimson, before we close up, can you leave the people with a takeaway message? What do you want them to remember? Those listening live audience, those listening later on YouTube or BitChute. What do you want them to take away from this?
What's the takeaway here? I think that if we work together, we can win this war against consciousness. And really the simplest way to win is to not accept idiots' false narratives. Don't accept fear, which is false evidence appearing real. And literally just, we are stronger than they are collectively. If we get enough people together living in that higher vibrational state, that reality will become the dominant reality. We will steal this dimension from the bad controllers and the bad actors. So, and all you have to do that is just live a high vibe life. Be good, love yourself, love your family, love life, love nature, do good, help others, be the change that you want to see in the world, and that change will come.
Amen. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Thank you, Mr. Krimson, for another great podcast. Check out all of Krimson's other great podcasts on YouTube and BitChute. We have several episodes with the gentleman. You can find that in hashtag RT podcasts. Please keep an eye on hashtag announcements. We have great podcasts coming up tomorrow at 2 p.m. Local interview with Ken, the Winnipeg street preacher. I plead with you people, please come to this. You're not going to want to miss this. Trust me, this guy is something else. Secondarily, we're going to be talking about Islam with Traveler tomorrow at 8, and that will also be very cool. Lots more coming up. Also, check out the new Roundtable Mystery film radio drama we're producing. You can find that in the RT podcast as well. Thank you, Krimson. Thank you, everybody. Join the Roundtable Discord server, and let's jump up and raid NSA and Dawson up there.